Hey guys, this is Christian, and today we got the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Edition 2022. Yeah, getting into some of the specs though on this MSRP is about $61,995. This has about 270 miles of range, and then this also gets 0 to 60 in about 3.8 seconds, though you can get a $6,000 upgrade and it'll get it down to 3.5 seconds, which is basically the same as the Model Y as well too. Besides that, this is about like 4,900 pounds. This has a 91 kilowatt hour battery, has all-wheel drive. So moving on to the exterior, we have this in the grabber blue metallic. It's actually really sporty, really just fits the car nicely, being again a sporty car, 0 to 63.8. I think the blue just pops. I think this is really like, it's basically like a neck breaker. As I was on the freeway, people were actually like turning their heads. I think the car for one looks good, but the blue just makes it really pop. But continuing with the exterior, we have the Mach-E 4X logo down here, kind of just adds to the image and all that. We have the charging port, so just pop that in or pop it out. The car is actually locked, so you have to unlock the car. So gonna unlock it real quick, opens up, and then at this point you can see you have the charging and everything. You have the fast DC charging as well too. And there's a little charging light on the right side, which kind of just lets you know what percentage it's charging at. And then moving on to the wheels. So these are the 20-inch wheels, machine face, and they also have black inserts. What I mean by that is like, you look at this part, you'll kind of hear it maybe, it's like metallic. And then when I tap on this part, these are like the plastic inserts. Kind of just adds to the aerodynamic and everything. Though, I wonder if you could actually remove them as well too, but I won't mess with that. And then for the GT models, these fenders are also painted to the body color. So kind of just adds to the car's just like size and all that. Over just like the basic models that kind of just have this in black. Onto the front, so we have the LED projector headlamps with signature lighting. On the center here, we have the Mustang logo over here, and then you also have like this black mesh, which kind of just lets you know that this is the GT model compared to the other models that kind of just have this to the same body color. And then moving on down below, so we also have these, kind of hear my knee snap, but these are kind of just active aero. These will open up if the car just needs a little bit more air, kind of just for better cooling for the batteries. And then you have your nice splitter here at the bottom. And then final thing to mention, there is also a frunk on this car, so let me just open that up. So now with the frunk open, so just gonna pop this up, and it has hydraulics, so you don't have to worry about this like crushing your hands as if it were to come down. But with it open, you can see we have a bit of storage space up here. You could probably throw like your carry-ons in here. Nothing too big, probably not your big luggage, but just for the small stuff or maybe some groceries, you could just throw it in there. But closing this back up at this point, bringing this down, so that you gotta actually do 2 clicks. So 1 click, you'll hear it, that's the first one. And then the second one with 2 hands, kind of just like push it in, and then it locks at this point. Onto the backside, we have these Mustang inspired tail lights, which again look just like the Ford Mustang lights, but for the SUV. Here on the center, we have the GT badging. So for at least the GT models, it has a GT badging, but this would also be like a Mustang logo for the rest of the models. And then you have your backup camera here in the center. And then final thing, just to open it, you could just open it from down here or with the key as well too. So once it opens up and it's powered trunk, about 29.7 cubic feet of space. And then there's a little bit of space under here as well too. So you just lift up here. It's a little messy, but just gonna quickly just show that to you. And then if you do want to bring the seats down, there isn't any like automated buttons or anything like that. So you will have to like reach in, press the button here, and then kind of just like throw the seats. So it's the same with this left side and the right side. And you hear me struggling a bit, but yeah, as you can see, it goes pretty flat. So if you want to fit like a decent sized TV or something in here, you could throw it in there. But at this point, we could do the trunk challenge. So I'm just gonna jump in at this point. What?
It'd be funny if you just showed this whole process right there.
So now I'm in the trunk. So this is actually kind of on the tighter side, I will say. So the space is good, but you do got to store like a bigger dog back here. Maybe you're going on a hike or something. Their head might be a little lower, or they'll be kind of like peeking forwards, just to mention that. So back outside, so to close up the trunk, there's a button up here. Simply just press it and it just closes this up at this point. So I'm gonna go onto the driver's side door at this point. So now the door open at this point. So we kind of have our window controls up here. And then you also have like the latch to kind of open up the door. Kind of interesting. I feel like this has just like a nice feel to it as I'm like exiting the car and all that. And then here we also have some leather wrap trim, and then you also have like your copper stitching as well too. And then moving on to the speaker over here, I kind of just want to mention it easily right here. These look like buttons, as you'll see all around the car, but they're just simply little logos of the Bang & Olufsen 10 speaker system, which is pretty good as we'll get there. But going on to the door sills, so we have like the GT badging here on the door sills, kind of adds a nice touch. Wish it was illuminated, again that's just me though. And then going on to the seat, we kind of have some controls up here, and then it's 8-way adjustable, same way as a passenger side seat, and it also has lumbar support. Though I do wish the one thing it did have is adjusting kind of like the angle of the seat. You can only go forward and backwards and up and down, but you can't really adjust like the front side of the seat. But besides that, at this point I'm just going to step into the car and we'll just continue on the inside. So once inside, first thing we have is of course the steering wheel. We have the Mustang logo here in the center, kind of has like these little lines, which kind of like just putting my finger on left and right on it. And then over here, 3-spoke steering wheel, and it has like black trim all around it. And then there is also like the copper contrast like stitching on the steering wheel. And then I do want to mention, it actually has like a really good like kind of squish to the wheel. So it's not too squishy, but it just has like a nice grip as you're like holding onto it. And then back here, kind of have like the 10.2-inch, not touchscreen, but just a screen back there, which I do like over like the Model 3 and the Y of Tesla, which kind of just got rid of that screen entirely. So moving on to the center touchscreen, it's a 15.5-inch touchscreen. For the most part, it works really fluidly. I haven't had too many issues though. Maybe it's just my model. Sometimes it does stutter when I'm using like Android Auto, but for the most part, it's pretty fine. And it also has Apple CarPlay wireless as well too. Besides that, here on the bottom, there's like a little knob for the volume. Honestly, I wish this was like more at the bottom of the screen or completely off the screen. It kind of just like eats into some of the screen real estate, but for the most part, it's pretty fine. Using the menu is pretty easy too. A little bit of like a learning curve, but overall pretty easy to navigate. So moving on below the touchscreen, there is also 2 USB ports over here. There's one USB-C port and then one regular older USB port. I kind of like that they have 1 in 1 for the reason that maybe you have your older cables, maybe you don't want to throw them away yet. You can still plug in your phone and everything too. Though there is also another mention, there is also wireless charging. There's 2 spots where you think you would wireless charge, though there is only wireless charging on the left side. So I'm gonna just move this out of the way. And as you can see, there's wireless charging just on one side, but putting this back where it was, there's also 2 cup holders right next to it, and then right besides that you kind of have your prindle, which is a knob, not the mechanical ones, but the knob works just fine. And then you also have like 3 buttons over here too. And then for your armrest, kind of has like the GT badging on it, and again with a copper trim as well too, or copper trimming, stitching. But moving this out of the way, you can actually move that too. And then you also have some space over here. You can store some stuff in here. You have like a 12-volt port. And then you can also actually store your key here too in case you need to, though I probably just keep it in my pocket because it is keyless entry and it's a little bit of extra work to take out the key out of your pocket. And then final thing I do want to mention, if you pan over here, there is also some space over here, which is kind of nice. Again, there's no transmission wheel, so you can actually store some of your belongings here, though just got to be careful when you're driving kind of quickly and maybe they start bouncing around. You don't want that to fall into the driver's side. So moving on to the back seat, so gonna step in at this point. This is already my driver's side position, but with my knee room, you can see I have about like my hand fits here kind of nicely, so it's about like a small size sedan or SUV kind of space. Up here we don't have any panoramic roof. I do recommend that $1,500 option, and again kind of gives you like that full glass on top, just like the Model 3 and the Model Y, which you might be cross shopping for. On the center, kind of have like our armrest here for 2 cup holders, or you can just place your hand here, or assuming you don't have anyone here in the center, or you might be hitting them, but placing this back up. You also have 2 AC vents back here, and then you also have 2 USB ports as well too. So it's an older USB and then also the USB-C port as well. And then final thing I want to mention, if you pan down here, there is no transmission wheel, again with being an electric car, so if you have a third person, you will see like you could completely have like their full legroom in the center too. So onto the driving of this car. So the car drives pretty smoothly for the most part. It has normal suspension and all that. Sound deadening is pretty good too. You don't really hear much road noise when you're even driving on traffic, and especially just being an electric car, there is no engine, so there's no noise. The motors make obviously a tiny bit of noise when you're going really fast, but besides that, it's mostly quiet. You can also get like the fake engine noise to be played on the inside of the car. It's called like propulsion sound. It kind of just adds a little touch. I do like that you can turn on and off, because I know some cars have like, even when it's off, it still has like a bit of like a noise in it. Maneuverability of this car, it's a little bit smoothened out. Again, I'm in just the unbridled, not the unbridled extended mode. That probably just really makes it like super like track focused. But for most day-to-day driving, unbridled probably most, or even the engaged mode, which is still for the most part really fast. Visibility out of this car, the front's pretty fine. I do want to say the roofline's a little lower than what you'd expect, I guess, compared to like other SUVs, but I can see why they did it for like aerodynamics and all that. Your blind spot's pretty easy to see too. You also have obviously your blind spot assist on the side view mirrors. This car does have lane keep assist as well too, and it does actually a pretty good job, honestly. I will say if a car goes into your lane though, it kind of brakes a little hardly. I know that was an actual issue with Tesla vehicles before, and I know now it's a bit smoothened up, but yeah, this kind of brakes a little hard sometimes when a car goes into your lane on the freeway. Yeah, so the maneuverability on this, it's a little bit, I feel like there's like the tiniest bit of like there's a little bit of disconnection between like the wheel and what's actually happening with the car. Like I feel like it's reading your input before it actually completely like outplays it in the car compared to like some other electric cars that I've driven. As for my review, again on the Ford Mustang Mach-E GT Edition 2022 model, again, 3 highlights I want to just give out for this car. I think one thing right away, as you can see, is the looks. I feel like the car is just like really sporty looking. I feel like just like the whole Mustang kind of inspired look really adds a nice touch to it. Second thing I'd probably say is the comfy seats. I like the look of them, the copper trimming or like the copper piping. Just adds like over just being like black and black basically. It adds like a little bit of contrast, so it just adds a really nice touch to that. And then final thing I want to mention, again, it's an EV, so besides being efficient, it also has like 0 to 60 at 3.8, though you can bring that down to 3.5 if you get like that performance option at the end. And then final thing I do want to mention, like for recommendations for like upgrades, I would get the panoramic roof at the top. Again, kind of just like livens up the interior. Probably get it tinted if it's a little too bright, but that would probably add like a really nice touch for like your passengers. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video at this point. Again, for the Ford Mach-E GT model 2022 edition, and kind of really far from the car, but I want to just do the usual setup of stepping inside. But again, if you guys like the video, like and subscribe, comment down below or whatever, any feedback. But again, till next time.